welcome. You are tuned into my weekly talk radio TV show called Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced and get happy with Dr. Marissa. And this show is about hope and happiness. So there's no gossip, no scandal. Instead, I want you to focus on your own reality show and how you can be happy 88% of the time. So I have shows and topics.
Sunday, Monday, happy days. Tuesday, Wednesday, happy days. Thursday, Friday, happy days.
Monday, Tuesday,
Happy days.
Wednesday, Thursday,
Happy days.
Friday, whatever.
Happy days.
What a day. Na, 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 na.
I love you.
I love you too.
Best known as the mom from Happy Days, and she is a delightful 89-year young Marion Ross to my studio. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Dr. Marissa, this is such a treat for me.
Oh.
My goodness, you're a wonderment.
Which is exactly the kind of guest that I like. Those who have gone through life, good and bad, and then taken those experiences to alchemize them into the person they are now and doing good on the planet. I'd like you to welcome Corey Feldman.
If you're grateful for it and you say right away, thank you, God. Oh, my God, it's so beautiful. I'm so blessed. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Then guess what? More good things will come to you.
Does this sound familiar at all? She's back again to mark my Cancer Awareness and Prevention Month show. Please welcome Fran Drescher. Hi, Fran.
On and supporting cancer schmance. I really appreciate it.
So what would you say are some of the biggest myths, Fran, that people have about cancer?
Well, I would say that they think that there's a cure for it.
Okay.
Instead of a cause for it.
This is the first call-in show when I get to be Dr. Marissa, the kinder, gentler Dr. Laura. And people call in to get their life tires balanced and their critical thinking or their BS, their belief systems, smog checked. And today I am delighted to have Malie calling in from Birmingham, Alabama.
We could go 90 days and end up having terrible sex. And then you say, well, the relationship's not all about sex. Well, if I'm not getting great sex from you, then I'm going to get it from somebody else. Right?
That moose just got put on the table. And I see Josh and Jim.
I have to agree
You're
with Clyde.
both nodding. Ramon's sort of half nodding because his wife's listening. But
I understood what was going to happen if Muhammad Ali's youngest daughter, made public that I was going to become a boxer. So I wanted to make sure this was the path that I wanted to go down.
you are absolutely fabulous, beautiful inside and out. And I'm giving you Dr. Marissa's Beneficial Presence on the Planet Award today.
Thank you.
Just sit right back and you'll hear a tale of a fateful trip that started from this tropic point.
When I go, I'm gone.
Are you lonely?
No.
Yeah, I knew that was going to be
But
the answer.
I surround myself with people. I mean, I'm always the one cooking for things. Or I'm always the one that decorates first and come to my house. All the orphans that have no place.
I'm going to have no place to go, so I can come over.
Come on over.
And life is so amazing if we can see it.
Jump off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And welcome. You're tuned in to Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, NBC News, CNBC News, and NBC Sports Radio Station, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, TuneIn, Audible, Amazon Music, Tiki Live, Rumble, Podchaser, Streaker, Spreaker, and more. And this is a show about hope and happiness, so there's no gossip, no scandal, and no K-words, no Kanye talk at all, formerly or now. Instead, I want you to focus on your own reality show and how you can be happy 88% of the time. So I have topics and guests to that end. If you've missed any of my past 1,115 shows, but who's counting? Please do go to my YouTube TV channel, and when you get there, make sure that you hit the free subscribe button, and then you will get an alert every weekday morning to tune in to this show that balances out all the bad news out there with some good news. And I have very special series all the time because I want to keep you always on your toes and on your nose and sometimes on your back to be entertained and educated. And today is absolutely no exception to the rule. It is Thursday, so the good-looking guy you see there, you know him, James Hawthorn. He's an actor, trainer, film festival founder, and more. And welcome to the show again this wonderful Thursday. And that is James Hawthorn. And I'm going to ask Frank to hit the applause button because I'm having some issues just getting my banner up. So hopefully Frank can hit that welcome button. And he maybe.
Good morning, everybody. Until then.
Hold on, here we go. Good morning, James.
Good morning. Great to be here.
It's wonderful to see you again. I get to see you every Thursday. I do love the ability of this show to connect me with people that I enjoy. And he is my newest. I guess I can't even call you my new co-host anymore because you've been here like, what are we, a couple months now?
We almost have a well-oiled machine.
Wow.
We're getting out of Robot Tin Wizard of Oz territory, and we're getting into well-oiled machine territory.
Well-lubed machine, maybe?
Well, that's right. This is a show on dating and sex. So
that's right.
A little bit of sex.
And relationships. And I want to welcome all the Capture Gallery this morning is in full force. We've got Troy Pacelli. How was your time on this show last week?
Oh, we had a blast. We had a great time. It's a lovely way to spend a Friday evening.
Good. Did you have a drink with you? Did you imbibe as his what is it called? Last call. So
we had a little white wine, and we talked about how to find balance, something that I know you speak a lot about in the health and fitness world, while still enjoying some of the finer things in life.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so breakfast. I'm sorry, I'm still trying to multitask, and I think I can do this well, but it remains to be seen. We're gonna have breakfast this morning with my co-host because this is our discipline. good life habit. Start every show. 8 things that you're grateful for. Dr. Wayne Dyer, a beloved teacher who's on the other side, said 5. I'm an overachiever. So 8. 8's a lucky number in Chinese. So 8 on the top, 8 on the bottom, because I like it on the bottom. And the 8 on the bottom are appreciations, what you like about yourself. So you ready? James, why don't you kick it off?
Well, first, for gratitude, I'm going to say that I'm grateful for in-town getaways. You may have noticed my eclectic backdrop today, and I'm just in a different part of town taking care of 2 dogs and a cat. I brought my dog down for the party as well. So if you see any creatures behind me, just know that they're doing their thing back there.
Aww.
So there's nothing like an in-town getaway just to change your scenery and freshen up your perspective and go for a walk in a different neighborhood.
That's awesome. And what neighborhood is it? Just curious.
Oh, I'm like Sierra Bonita and Sunset. So right near Sunset, somewhere in between Hollywood and West Hollywood. So all kinds of great coffee shops and restaurants to try.
Nice. I'm grateful that I live in California. I love the sun. I love the sea. I love the sand. Those are 3 S's. That's really, there's 3 gratitudes right there. And I want to welcome not just PJ and Troy, we have Nadia in the house. So it's great to have my full cashew gallery on force today. We already have a gratitude from Troy. He was on the button, on the joystick. On the button, first thing. He's thankful for an extra day. That's how it feels. This is hashtag leap year. It is the 29th. It only comes around how often?
Every 4 years.
Is it 4 years? Okay. So it only comes, unintended, every 4 years. That sounds like me.
If you were lucky enough to be born on the leap year, it makes it that much easier to lie about your age in Los Angeles. Well, one of Angelino's favorite pastimes.
That is pretty cool. Let's see if anybody else is logging in with a gratitude. Frank's usually grateful for music. He is a fabulous DJ. If you need one, go hit up Frank, my sound engineer. I am grateful for waking up 88% of the time in a really good mood. Actually, that's more like an appreciation, but we'll let it go. One more gratitude.
I'm grateful for my fabulous representation team. They've kept me very busy the last couple of weeks with some awesome acting opportunities. And as I say, when I get the chance to audition, that's my adult recess. I take a break from my regularly scheduled adult life and get to go play. So I'm really grateful for the opportunities I've had this last week, keeping me very busy on some really exciting opportunities.
Well, I'm wiggling my fingers for you. Good luck that you get the best and the most fun.
Well, thank you very much for that.
And the most lucrative. How's that? I'll add
Hey,
that.
that's great. We could certainly use that.
Absolutely. Abundance and prosperity for all. That is my wish for today. And what I do actually, another discipline, if you're looking for a good life habit, on my calendar every morning at 8 a.m., because 8's a lucky number. It's a homophone for good fortune in Chinese. And so every 8 a.m., the alarm goes off, and the question is, how is prosperity going to show up in my day today? And so it sets my expectation to go and see, how it's going to come. And I carry a $100 bill in my wallet at all times as a sign of prosperity. And I could buy that, or I could buy that instead of saying I can't afford it. I could buy that, but I choose right now. I really don't, want it. I'll save it for something else that is going to, make my toes curl. So
I like that. Now you got to be careful, because we talked about different neighborhoods in LA. Now that you told everybody that you always got $100 on you, you got to be careful what neighborhoods you're walking around in now.
Yeah. I have angels though, and I have protection, and I don't live in fear. And if somebody really needs that, then they really need it. So
I'm just teasing. I'm teasing.
I can't get me down today. I'm too naturally high. All right, let's go down to the bottom of the bud, because I like it on the bottom. What do you like about yourself? The reason why I do this, it's my BS, my belief system, my Kool-Aid. that mental illness stems from not good enough, not worthy, not good enough. I don't like myself. I don't know how to take care of myself. I look to other people to take care of me. And as a result, you're like, never solid, never grounded. So it's important to me that you are owning and claiming your birthright to be loved, lovable, and loving. So I want you to practice by talking about what you like about yourself. So when you go to bed at night, instead of thinking about all the things that are wrong in life and wrong about you, you're thinking about what's good about you. So what do you like about yourself, James?
This actually goes back to one of my gratitudes with the opportunities that I had this past week. It turned out that me and my neighbor had the same audition for the same role, the same project. And we both needed help taping it. And we decided to be cooperative rather than competitive. So it was really great to help each other put out the very best work that we could. And when we talked about, and when we saw each other's work, it was so clear that you can't copy or compete with somebody else, because it's you. When you bring you to the role, there's certain colors that he's going to paint and put on that character and role that just aren't a part of my, personality mosaic. So we really can't compete with each other. And when you see beyond the apparent competition, you see there's not a competition at all. They're going to see me playing this guy. They're going to see him playing this guy. And it's up to them to, decide which one's a better fit. But that's not a competition between me and him. And as long as one of us gets it, that's a huge win, right? So why not help each other put out the best work that we can? So I like my collaborative approach to life rather than competitive.
I really like that. And I think for the acting field, that's like not necessarily a common BS belief system that goes around, for sure. My Happy 88 tools are like, it's always this and better. So if I don't get something, it's always this for better. The friendly universe is always conspiring for me, never against me. So if I don't get something, it means that there's something, I'm being protected. And I can't wait to see what good comes out of this if something bad happens. And that just keeps my discipline of staying in that high place. And then I attract all the good stuff.
Right. If you walk through life with the spirit of abundance rather than scarcity, then competition with other people just isn't a thing. There's no room for that to live and exist. I think the only competition that matters is between what you actually do with your life and your potential. So the only person you're ever competing with is what you're capable of. That's it.
Exactly. I appreciate that I know beyond a shadow of a doubt, 98% of the time, that I am a one-of-a-kind, wonderful, unique, precious child of a friendly universe. And I know that for me, and I know that for you. Anyone who's listening now or later, anyone within the sound of my voice or within the sight of your eyes. And I am so appreciative that I do know that. Just for like what you were saying, the role, it's a fit or it's not, it's a match or it's not. Same with relationships.
There you go. I don't really know what to call this one, so I'll just describe it and maybe we'll come up with a clever way. I like that I'm not a rule follower / I don't take things necessarily at face value. I'm always like, well, is that really the rule? Is that really the case? And I've had some really fun and exciting times by doing that. A much milder example of that would be last night. I had a crazy day. I was taping till very late, came back to walk the dogs here late at night. And man, was I starving. I didn't get a chance to eat enough during the day. And I said, oh, Sunset Thai, it's right there. I went there like 8 years ago. It was delicious. So I bring the dogs in. I go on my phone. I'm like, I better get there quick because they're going to close. Said that they were already closed. Well, I said to myself, you know what? I really want that Thai food. And it looked like the lights were still on 5 minutes ago. I'm going to walk my butt back up there and see if they'll let me at least get takeout. Well, I go there and they weren't closed. It was just an error on Google or whatever. And I'm glad I walked back up there and Sat down, had a fantastic meal, gave me a chance to just kind of exhale after a very busy day. And if, you just believe everything you read, or someone says, well, that's the rule. You're not going to have nearly as much fun as you would if you decide to ask for forgiveness instead of permission. And there's nothing wrong with groveling every once in a while. Go to the door and saying, I'm hungry, please feed me. I really want your delicious Thai food. Nothing wrong with sucking up and groveling a little bit.
That's hilarious. That's great. Maria, I like that I'm curious all the time and always wanting to learn. That is fabulous. And I do know that about you as well. And it's wonderful. That is it for breakfast with Dr. Marissa and
your co-host, James Hawthorn.
On Straight Talk. And you are tuned in to Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, NBC News Radio, home to the Asian Oprah, celebrating 25 years, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, and of course my YouTube TV channel, which if you free subscribe, you'll get an alert every weekday morning. And we're so glad that you're here. It is Straight Talk today and following breakfast. We're going to go to the topic of the day. Relationship postmortem. This is James' topic when exes aren't 86th, the good, the bad, and the ugly. That's the topic. Our relationships with exes or wasbands, as I like to call them, is that a good thing? Or is it someone who wasn't a match for a healthy relationship a good idea as a quote unquote friend? Or should that relationship sail into the sunset, or better yet, get sunk? That's what we're talking about today. So James, why did you pick this topic?
Hey, I want to say that there's a lot of food for thought there for our audience that's listening. So for those of you that invokes some strong reactions, jump into that cashew gallery and sound off. I think it would be great to hear your thoughts on this because there's a lot to unpack there. I just thought about this topic because some people in my life are dealing with, I want to respect their privacy, but some people that are close to me are dealing with exes, and there's some toxicity around how they're dealing with it. And then there's also some healing with how they're dealing with it. So just that paradox got me thinking. And then I started thinking about my life and my patterns with exes. And I'm a very loyal person, and I tend to, really try to focus on the good in people. And so if somebody was a good person in my life, even if the romantic relationship didn't work out and it was an incompatible situation there, I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. If they're good people, they're good people. So I like to keep them around. But I've learned that there's certain parameters and best practices around how to navigate that transition from dating to having that ex in your life in a different capacity. So I'll leave it at that for now and see where we go with it, huh?
Sounds good. I have not been successful at having exes of any kind as friends. And the most poignant one, obviously, was my marriage. And I have tried to be kind for the kids' sake, but it is not reciprocated. And I just had to let that go. It's not a failure on my part. I paid them enough, but nobody's ever going to think that you paid them enough. It's unfortunate, but that's definitely a person when I realized we weren't a match, that it was just better for me to take care of me and not continue to go to that tractor for milk even after the marriage. So for me, that's like pretty much my only experience. And I hate to admit this, but I haven't had a lot of really good relationships. Like I can count on one hand the number of relationships I've had, romantic relationships. So I truly, this dating business is I just have to insert. I went out on my 5th date, and I made the mistake of not doing the video call. And the reason why I have to do the video call is because, you know, the picture is not, you just don't know. And his picture was so, it was very attractive. He was very attractive. And it's going to make me sound shallow, but if you combine this picture with the Pillsbury Doughboy or the Marshmallow Man on
Stay Puft Marshmallow,
yeah. So and then, you know, I have to say, it doesn't matter looks wise if the personality, but then he launched into like 10 minutes of everything that's wrong with everybody, and I was like, oh my. Anyways, so
the video call, yes, always a good idea. And by the way, we as your hosts aren't here to give necessarily advice. We're here to inspire conversation. At least I can speak for myself. I don't have doctor before my name, and boy, am I a work in progress when it comes to dating. But you know what? I'm going to give a little unsolicited advice. When you're putting your pictures up on these profiles, I think it's good practice if you put up 5 pictures to only have one of them be you at your best. The other 4 should be you on a regular old average day. I have one with bedhead cuddling with my dog that I did a selfie of when I first woke up. And I'm like, if they like the way I look here, they're not going to be disappointed when they see me in person. So I think it's better to under promise, over deliver. Who cares if you put your best foot forward and then you get this reaction of, hi, it's so nice to meet you. That just kind of not a good way to start a date. So folks, don't put all your best pictures out there.
Whoops, did we just lose you?
Put some everyday pictures out there. Excuse me there, folks.
Yeah, it is. I should have known better on the video chat. And it's interesting because another one said, like, literally, hello, let's meet for coffee. No foreplay in the words, no get them, nothing. And I said, I'm sorry, I need to, you know, talk a little first because I don't have the time to go for coffee without, you know, some like fundamental things. And he goes, well, good luck then. I'm out.
You know, some people are so like, I don't have time to waste. Well, that's fine if you want to live your life that way. But part of being in a relationship is giving the other person what they need. And if they want to talk a little bit, you got to bend a little, have a little flexibility for that person. You know what? I think that's a potential topic for another week. The first move. We've been talking a lot about the art of breaking up and keeping exes around. Maybe we can chat about making that first move.
Because I've got a lot of experience on that. For me, I need that verbal foreplay first to check out your sense of humor, your wittiness, your intelligence, you know, to find out what you do, because success and ambition are turn-ons for me. So all of that. Then we move to, can we hold a conversation on the phone? Then we move to, what do you look like? For me, that is the best entree into a first date. And without that, I mean, the good news is you can kind of tell from those that first chat, if they're like saying, I had one guy say, hello, how are you? I can't wait to have your legs wrapped around me. Like that was like, okay, that's a little quick. So, you know, that's for me. But I think I'm pretty representative of.
I think you're giving a little advice there. I think it's, hey, when you make that first move, guys or gals, try to stay in the meaty part of the bell curve. You know, don't be an liar on either side. Just be in that middle 80%. Just be normal, folks, please. As much as I love quirky eccentricities, let's not, you know, be out to lunch before we go out to lunch.
Very good. Very good.
Hey, I want to have your back on what you said regarding exes not staying in your life over the relationships you've had, focusing particularly on your husband and husband and what you've talked about in other shows. well, he didn't really treat you that good. So if somebody treats you poorly, I don't think I think that's just protecting yourself to not have that person in your life. So I don't think there's ever any obligation or any reason just out of loyalty to keep somebody around if they didn't treat you good when you were together. So I got to have your back on that one and stick up for you there.
Yeah. Now, here's a situation. I don't know if you've ever been in this. I had a couple come to me for some coaching, relationship coaching, and the woman's ex was her best friend. And the new guy was not an insecure person, but did not approve of that relationship because of the familiarity and of the temptation. And her point was, you don't trust me. And his point was, it's not that I don't trust you. I don't know if I trust him. And why would you put yourself in that situation of potentially, falling back into a relationship that you've already slept with him, you were married to him? Why would you put that as a factor in the relationship?
I'm glad you brought that up because that brings in this layer of the consequences on a third party of keeping an ex in your life. And I have pretty strong thought on this, and I think a lot of people are going to disagree with me. But I want to put it out there that I understand the concerns of that third party 100%, absolutely. But I think those concerns do come down to, I think there's an opportunity there for that third party to work on that trust muscle. And I think it's perfectly reasonable for a couple, to maybe say, you know what, the spark romantically isn't there, but we do have a lot in common. We do enjoy spending time with each other. I don't think that's a particularly unusual or strange situation. Now, if they broke up and are still living together, that's maybe where I would draw the line, right? If they're like roommates.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to have my partner's ex hear me making love to my partner, right? So that's something that, I've heard that there's no such thing as awkwardness. Awkwardness is just weakness of character. Well, that's where I draw the line. But it outside of that, I think it's on that third party to work on their trust muscle and try to get some empathy and understanding for why those two, are still friends, and not to judge it so much. I mean, I believe that, is it fair to throw away a good friendship just because of other people's weakness of character, to accept that? I think that third party needs to step up. I don't think it's fair for that third party to ask that person to throw away a great friendship. So that's my take on that, personally.
Okay. And I'm going to introduce the layer of, let's say that in this case it was a woman. She has a tremendous sexual attraction to her ex, but they emotionally could not bond. Like it just, everything was, that was, so now they're friends. Okay. And the potential, knowing that, right. And there was, both sides had been unfaithful, in trying to separate, back together. So that potential situation in her life, I think he has the right to say, I'm not comfortable with this based on your history. And I don't think it's on him to exercise his muscle of being accepted in that situation. I think in some of the situations, I agree with you. I mean, because it reminds me of Love is Blind. I know my daughter, I usually don't like reality shows, and I'm in my intro, but my daughter and I have a weekly date to watch something that she wants to watch, and she likes that show. And I'm enjoying it because it is asking especially for me, who is very visually stimulated, to be attracted. You know, you meet someone through the wall, and there is one guy right now who is has a best friend, have two girl best friends, and one of them he slept with in the past. It didn't work, and now they're just best friends. And the woman he proposed to through the wall is having difficulty with that relationship. And you know, of all the people you could have as best friends, why do you want to stack the deck against the relationship you want to have by holding to that? That's my best friend, and nothing's going to change that.
Now that's a very good point. I mean, when you talk about that specific scenario, you know, we've been talking about responsibility in a situation where your ex is in your life, and where the responsibility falls to potentially allow space for that. Now, if you are still incredibly sexually attracted to your ex, that to me seems like an act of self-flagellation. For those of you who aren't huge vocab people, self-flagellation is not self-love or masturbation. It's it's an act of torture.
Greg, I hope you had your finger
I
on
learned
that
that one the hard way at one point in time, and I completely misused it in context. So just a little vocabulary lesson for the day. So you don't want to self-flagellate and put yourself in a situation where if a romantic relationship's out of the question, and you're constantly attracted to this person, this friend, and you're unable to make that mental shift to putting them in the friend bucket, that just seems like torture. So if I'm that third party, I'm gonna, you know, hold that person accountable to living their best life and say, hey, are you sure this is good for you? I mean, do you feel tortured? Because I could personally never imagine enduring that.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, this happens to me just when I meet people. I tend to gravitate towards more masculine seeming guys, and you know, I hope of course that they're gay so I can take them out on a date. They end up being straight. Well, you know, a lot of them become great friends of mine. So I'm like, well, at least I have good taste in people, even if I don't have a good gaydar. But you know, I'm able to put them in that bucket, I guess, because, well, they're straight, so it's off the table. So I wonder if in this situation there's a way for her to move beyond those feelings of attraction to the ex and put them in that bucket by saying, hey, we tried it. It didn't work. There was infidelity. We didn't, you know, work in that way. So now you are now not an option. You are now off that table. You know, and if that could maybe over time lead to the cessation of those excitation sexual feelings, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Good point. Good point. If you've just tuned in, you're wondering what we're talking about today. It is juicy because we are talking about exes and 86ing, or not 96ing or 69ing, but 86ing our exes in relationships. And sort of, is there a benchmarking standard that is a little more less troublemaking when it comes to relationship postmortems? This is Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show now in its 617th consecutive week, and my very special Thursday series called Straight Talk with Dr. Marissa and
your not so clean shaven and fresh and clean today co-host James Hawthorn.
And I just made a comment. We have a active cashew gallery that is not active this morning, and I put a little prompt out there, Troy, saying, just listening, not a lot to input. Yes, I keep forgetting that he doesn't have a lot of postmortems because he still is very happily married to Netter, 31 years worth. So, okay, that's fair. I guess maybe I was looking for Maria to chime in, because I know that Maria is still, like myself, dating or single, at least happily single, happily divorced is it. And I am I can't say I'm happily dating. Well, I mean, I had one that has to go to bed by 9:30, and another one that looked quite a bit not like his picture. So, but we keep trying. Yes, dating is trying, very trying. But okay. And we are talking about, should you have a relationship with your ex? What kind of relationship? Is it better not to have a relationship with your ex? So if you are tuned in now, if you're driving and listening to this NBC News Radio channel on your AM 1050 FM 106.5, please do not chat. But if you land somewhere, go to my YouTube channel, my YouTube TV channel, free subscribe, and you can join the Cashew Gallery. All right. I think we do have a comment here. Go ahead, James.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, Maria, tell us all the juicy gossip about the dating world in the tea and telly world. Ooh, he's fishing. So
One thing that I've learned about whether or not to keep exes in your life in any capacity is, we mentioned this on other shows with other topics. You have to have that cooling off period to allow that transition to happen, because, usually the feelings are so intense in a romantic and intimate relationship, regardless of what the breakup was about or how it went down. Those feelings, even if it was the most tranquil breakup, there's still intense feelings around the relationship. And I think those feelings have to run their course. And I think only time can do that. You could go out to 10 lunch dates with your ex to talk through everything, but just because you're talking through it, feelings and knowledge don't operate on the same timeline. And so the one thing that I've learned is it tends to go a lot better with keeping exes in your life if you allow for a period of no contact, just to kind of find yourself again, let those feelings dissolve, just do a full reboot and reset. And then you almost get this opportunity. Well, no, you do get this opportunity that's only afforded to you if you take that no contact cooling off period to rediscover this other person. And maybe you see things about them, now that you've taken the intimate side off the table, you see things about them that maybe you missed when you had the love butterflies going in your stomach. So there's a beautiful opportunity there. And I think it only comes when you have that no contact cooling off period. And as much as I used to like to think that I was evolved enough to just transition seamlessly, that's not the way it goes. And most people don't even want to attempt that. And what we talked about earlier is giving people the space to have their journey, their process, because you can still love somebody, you can love your ex, and a loving act is to give them that space that they need. Yeah. And maybe you will come back together as friends, and maybe not.
Yeah, absolutely. To add to that, I think it's super important to do a postmortem for yourself, and as a balancing effort to not blame that other person, because the tendency is, you date, you go out, you meet the family, you break up, and then family asks, so what happened? And well, I should have seen the red flags here, and he did this and he did that, and it's all their fault. When there's so much power, if you can frame it as, if he was a great teacher to help me know what is truly important in a relationship for me. I found out that I actually would like a partner who blanks. And I didn't know that until I went through the full course of the relationship with him. So that's one thing, to that opportunity, to own what your part was, right? So I didn't know that was important, especially the picker. In my 8 Ways to Happiness book, we talk about Don Miguel Ruiz, who's the best-selling author of The 4 Agreements. If you haven't read that book, please do. He's fabulous, his Toltec wisdom, and he has I get a lot of my relationship help from his book, The Mastery of Love. And in that book, he talks about, own your picker. If you want a dog, don't buy a cat. And so many women, especially women, we choose potential, right? We're hopeful that, and then, or when we realize we don't like that, we harp on them all the time. Why aren't you like that? Well, if they're not that, let them go. You own that. You didn't know that that's what you wanted. Now let your people go so you can find somebody that you don't nag at, because that's just not them. And I think that's so important when it comes to the postmortem part.
I agree. And there's one thing that if you're going to keep an ex around in your life, you absolutely have to let go. And I'm speaking from personal experience here, meaning personal mistake. You can't go back and have sex with your ex. It can be very hot because you have decided to split, or there's different like power emotion dynamics that are there. It can be stimulating, but I think it's a really good way to ensure that a meaningful friendship will not happen. And it can be tempting if both of you are out there dating, you're staying in touch, and you go, well, you know, I'm single, or hey, I had a really crappy date. Oh, me too. Well, let's have sex because we both want to get laid. No. Just because it's there and maybe available
and easy.
Yeah, because there's a dynamic that was built when you were together. It doesn't mean it's a good idea. Now, you know, if you're okay not having a close friendship with this person, and you're looking for just no strings attached
Friends
buddy
with benefits.
to do that with, okay. But if you're hoping for a friendship with this person, I don't see that working. And the dynamics can get complicated, especially if you're fooling around and all of a sudden you discover something in this new post-breakup sexual dynamic that's really arousing and alluring. But then that other person goes on a great date, and now they're off the table again. And that is another act of self-flagellation. So protect yourself from that would be my advice to those that are out there, having done that a couple of times. When will I learn? Hopefully now. Hopefully by saying it out loud, I'm putting it out there and holding myself accountable to everybody that's listening. And so now it comes in the form of anecdotal advice to all of you that, in my experience, that's one piece that you have to let go if you're not going to 86 your ex and you actually want a meaningful friendship with them.
Yeah. My Happy 88 tool that addresses that particular situation is called Step Away from the Device.
Yeah.
Step away from the device. Remember those car alarms that would
That's
say,
right.
back up. So yeah, I love that tool. I haven't talked about that tool in a long time. I love that. Thank you for reminding me. And in that same vein scenario as you're talking about, this is another really, 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 really do not touch scenario. If you are hope springs eternal and you are still really, really wanting that person to be your person, when you know that you're going to the tractor for milk, that they've never been able to be the person that you want them to be, and you hold the BS belief system that there's only one soulmate, one twin flame, one person that can be your person, one completing person. Thank you very much, Jerry Maguire. No, thank you. Cinderella, Snow White, all the ways in which we have been taught that there's one person, then yeah, you're going to have trouble letting go, and having a relationship following your breakup is not a good idea because you haven't let go and you haven't been okay with saying, this is my book of romance for my entire life. And every relationship can be a short chapter, a mid chapter, or a long chapter. But I can have, in 8 billion people, I can have more than one really good relationship romantically than that only one person that keeps me from always going back to that chapter, right?
Yeah, that goes back to your point on doing that postmortem for yourself and really doing the work to understand who you are and how you love. If you're somebody that really is a romantic, I think it can be much harder to let that person go. I used to be much more of a romantic. For better and for worse, I've become a little bit more cynical, but just to the point where it's made me, I think, more in the meaty part of the bell curve instead of hopeless romantic. Now I'm in that bell curve, but I'm on the romantic part of the 80% instead of hopeless. But you have to know that about yourself. And if that's you, that no contact time or period might have to be longer than 6 months, a year, maybe more. Because if you have trouble letting go, it's good to know that. And you have to read the cues and the signs. If you're going on dates in the first 6 months after a breakup, and all you're doing is thinking about that other person and how none of these people compare, well, it's too soon to say that, oh, this person is the only one that's right for me. That should be a sign or a cue that you really need to keep avoiding contact. Now, if it's been a year and a half, 2 years, and you're dating, and you're still thinking, man, that person was, well, that's a little bit different. So I think you have to measure your feelings in the context of time, spent apart with no contact with your ex, and in the context of, well, who am I as a romantic person? Who am I as a lover? And I think when you do that, you can figure out the way in which you could keep an ex in your life in a healthy way, should you so decide to.
Yeah, I just had a thought on researching a question. Let's see what it says. I put in here, how many couples return to a relationship from the past? According to new research, almost 50% of couples break up and then get back together again. Yeah, that's a little messy, but there are upsides to splitting up before settling down for the long haul, according to this Sherry Myers, author of Chatting or Cheating. Interesting.
I think, that actually doesn't surprise me. And the reason is because, we don't always get it right. Sometimes we're flawed. And one thing that we've talked about is some people might stay in relationships too long. But I think what's even more pervasive is a lot of people giving up on things too quickly. And sometimes you go out there for a couple of years and you realize, man, well, that was a mistake. I really did enjoy these things with that person. And maybe I was being petty or too picky about this or that. Or over the course of a couple of years, maybe that person evolves and changes, and the things that you used to not be able to tolerate or stand are now remedied. Because believe it or not, people do change and they do evolve. Just don't expect to be the one to change them. So,
right.
When you look at all those things, you have to, give yourself grace and realize that sometimes we screw up when we get it wrong.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And it could be, a good relationship at the not the best time. I say
Right.
this as an organizational psychologist when I do consulting, is if you're a person in the organization that has this great idea and you keep, trying to insert that idea and nobody, takes your idea, it's time to let the idea go. It's just a good idea at the wrong time. It's
Right.
not the best time. So same with the relationship. It could be a great relationship, but you're at different times in your life and it's not the right time. So that would be one of the conditions where, yeah, you would come back together and it be a good relationship. So,
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it doesn't, we everything up until this point, we've been talking about now, make sure there's healthy separation if they're going to be now put in the friend bucket. But sometimes, the universe will throw signs at you that this person is supposed to play a role in your life. And if they keep popping up and showing up and in meaningful ways, and, after a couple years of consideration, it might be, what, we should give it another go. You just don't want to be like Elaine and David Putty on Seinfeld, where Elaine's best friend, who, by the way, is her ex, Jerry Seinfeld, is placing bets And he and Elaine are betting, I'm not getting back together with him. And she keeps getting back together with him. And in one episode, they break up and get together like 8 different times. And Jerry's smoking a big cigar, laughing as Elaine keeps throwing the money down on the table. You know, Jerry makes like $300-400 off of her. You don't want to be like that, right? Don't be hasty in your breakups. Don't be hasty in your makeups, you know, I think is the takeaway there.
Yeah, absolutely. And guess what? We are in our final 5. As usual, it's always time flies on this particular series, all my series actually, but it is a lot of fun. I'm sorry, Troy, we were not able to convince Maria to, you know, spill her tea or Telly, her show on YouTube as well. So you're just going to have to go on her show to get her to spill her tea about her dating and her relationships. Sorry, I tried, Troy. Good job, Maria, on not taking the bait on that. But I think we've done a lot of great living and loving out loud on this show, as usual, with our personal experiences with romances or no nances, as it seems to be in my case. But I'm really glad that we were able to approach this topic, and I think we do have a topic for next week. It's like opening moves. What is a smooth opening move besides what's your sign? Or hi, my name's Marissa. How do you like me so far? For sure.
First moves. We're going to go to the other side of the relationship.
Maria's saying ha ha. And I don't blame her. She's more wise than I am. She plays her cards close to the vest. I got a big mouth. Okay, Troy, there's some self-disclosure there, but it's good for hosts to have big mouths. If we were, stuttering, shy, nothing to say, probably not a good qualification for talk shows, for sure. All right. Thank you. Another great stream with James Hawthorn. He has wisdom well beyond his years. Very nice compliment there.
Well, thank you, Troy. Sometimes I worry that by sharing my personal dating experiences in front of the masses here, that out in the real world, people are going to go, "Oh no, I've heard you on your show. I don't want anything to do with all that baggage."
Definitely not. And we are less than 3 minutes now. So a 30-second final word?
Yes. I think it all comes down to there are no rules with 86ing exes or not. I think it comes down to getting to know and then respecting who you are as a lover and in romance, and give yourself the time so that you can keep that ex in your life in a healthy way and have them in the right bucket. Unless, of course, you just want that NSA thing, and that's a whole different vibe. But even then, you're setting yourself up for some heartache when they find their next lover. So be careful, but be you. Be authentic.
Awesome. My final word is probably a good idea, at least for a short while, to 86 your ex and not 69 them. That is my final word.
Well said. That is sharp. I love it.
Thank you so much for tuning in today. To take my advice, I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show, and my very special Thursday series, Straight Talk with Dr. Marissa and
your co-host, James Hawthorn.
Now remember, it is always about balance. Peace in, peace out, world peace through inner peace. Now go and have the best day ever. We'll see you tomorrow. It is Friday Tempting Conversation with Alon Carter, daughter of Otis Williams, the founder of The Temptations, and yours truly. We'll see you tomorrow. Have the best day ever.